as the music finished because I had forgotten what day it is, which happens a lot, but I was particularly thrown for a loop because of the public holiday here today. Just for a moment, I was quite convinced it was Sunday. But that happens. Kind of is. It's the day before going to work. And then a short week, 3 more days. And then the weekend. Exciting times, exciting times. Yes. Sorry, and I was about, because Mrs. Angry here, I was thinking, wait, Saturday night's date night when we even have something planned. So there you go. And hello, Lee. How is it going this fine evening? Well, maybe it's a fine evening where you are. It's been like the warmest day of spring so far here, about 29 Celsius. And that's going to change overnight. And apparently tomorrow is a lot of rain and potential damaging winds. So that's some fun to look out for. It's interesting. It's a clarified cocktail I made earlier. Still got the vermouth taste going on in it. It's vermouth and apple brandy, basically. And the dominant flavor at the moment is vermouth. And that's it. Oh, nice, Lee. High distinction average at university. Excellent result. Good job, that man. Oh, and you got an Apple Store gift card. Gotta love that. And Michael, good evening. And hello, Invisible Chicken. People shuffling into the chat now. It's good to see. Oh, Aidsy wanted to join. I better send him the link very quickly. Send him an electronic mail message. All right, so that's done. And then I'll just text him to let him know. Do the E and the rest auto completes. And so we may see Aidsy soon. Now, in an hour. Who knows? It's very hard to tell. Hello, Raiders. Good evening. It's one of those ones I'm going like, not my favorite. Not great, in fact. I might have been better served just because I made this a bit earlier for a video. Might have been better served just keeping the cocktail I made in the fridge rather than clarifying, which I normally do for fun. But I've also got another one to try just because I feel like it. This one, which is almost completely clear, like I always make jokes about the clarified cocktails being tending to be some shade of urine. If this is a urine sample, it's from a very well hydrated person. This one, because of the sweet vermouth, teeny bit pink. So a urine sample from someone, maybe they've got a urinary tract infection. Who knows? So Invisible Chicken's house is on the market, starting to move now. Okay, Action Stations. I suppose with everything opening up. Now I'm going to move my laptop back a little bit because I'm wearing one of my new shirts and I want to show it off without... Oops. Now that's under there. So the laptop's at an awkward angle. See, it's an old-fashioned. It suits the glass I'm drinking from tonight. I don't see. You can see it's an old-fashioned, or it's a hand holding an old-fashioned. Even a little bit more down. How's that? That's okay. All right. So yes, this is one of my new shirts, and I think the color's not coming up properly. This, I don't know, it's the webcam or I think it's StreamYard. This is more an aqua color, turquoise even. So yeah, but anywho, and Lee, you're a chairperson for school childcare. Nice. Nice. I assume that's a bit of community mindedness there. Good to see. I did so very little today. Well, I did edit a video. And I watched a bunch of old movies. By old movies, I mean like 20-year-old movies. Because often when I say old, I really mean like 70s rather than early 2000s. But I did watch a couple of 90s and early 2000s movies, or bits of them. Bram Stoker's Dracula and Meet Joe Black. And there's the unnecessary text from Aidsy to say he got my text. Because he's Gen X, and that's just how we roll. Yeah, so I was watching 20-year-old movies today. Just because I'm just on the lounge. I'm just like, what's on? I don't even want to search and decide on something. I'm literally going to go through the list of what is currently on and pick one and watch it. And I suppose I also did some laundry today. So I didn't do absolutely nothing. I just did not do an enormous amount today and spent quite a bit of time sitting on the lounge because it was a holiday and that's what I wanted to do. No regrets. And I thought about future views. Celtic King, hello. Oh, shenanigans. We did at about 3 a.m. on Nettie's suggestion go to a 7-Eleven, and there were drunk young people there. And I've not been around drunk young people for a long time. So I was instantly befriending everyone because I thought, last thing I want is an aggro young drunk person. So all these young lads possibly overflowing with testosterone, I immediately went and made friends with them. Because I didn't want to seem, because I don't trust young drunk guys, honestly. I was an old drunk guy, so yeah. Yeah, Invisible Chicken. Isn't that great results for Lee? It's excellent to hear. You love to hear the up stories. Again, anyone in the stream, never be shy about big upping yourself. We're into the positive encouragement here. I think we maybe have a collective tendency to go, I feel bad because they don't, but and oh, I don't want to sound vain. I'm like, no, say what's going well. I love it. So yes, the it wasn't extreme shenanigans after the stream, even though it's really out of it. Slight shenanigans. We went down the street to a 7-Eleven. And hilariously, pre the stream, and the reason the stream was late is we decided to go to a bar, have a meal, have a cocktail, because hadn't done that in 6 months. Probably more recently than 6 months, but it feels like 6 months ago. Last time we'd done that. And weirdly, when we were going out at 3 a.m., one of the bar staff was just going home. We saw her get in the car. I assume it was her boyfriend driving the car. And we just thought it was a funny coincidence that because we had a good chat with the bar staff at this particular place we went to. And yeah, we saw one of them going home when we were roaming the streets at 3 a.m. Michael, you got a 3:30 start Spotswood. Standby at Frankston from 5 to 8. Okay. Is that AM or PM, by the way? Not sure I'd be up for a 3:30 AM, right? Musical elevator not working. Nice. So it also, I'm not going to bother to turn around. This design's also on the back of the shirt. You know what? I said I wasn't going to turn around, but now I am. See? It's on the back too, which is kind of fun. I like that. Jesus, what did I just tread on? Okay. Yeah, I kind of like that it's on the front and the back. The hand holding the glass. And it's probably not high res enough on the stream, but the hand has that Roy Lichtenstein cartoon thing, the little dots of color on it. So it's not a uniform pink for flesh. It's got little pink dots on it, like the cartoon. Jesus Christ, Michael, 3 a.m. start. Hey, Seuss. That's harsh. It's music I better. Had dinner at a friend's house. Stayed up till this morning. Nice. That's what it's all about. Liberties. Taking the liberties. You know, we deserve a treat or two, honestly. Yes, so I don't know if we're seeing Abigail or Annette tonight, who'll give their view of the Halloween stream, which was A, a lot of fun, B, got a bit messy, obviously, because we started late, but we ran long, and because I actually, I came home in the morning. I slept because it was very late. I slept at Abigail's place, woke up at 7 a.m., drove home because I was sober. I wasn't that drunk. By 7 a.m. I was sober. Wasn't even that tired. It just seemed to take forever to get home. And then I actually logged in to my work computer, said hello to my team, and had a day out working from home. And the meeting I went home for got postponed till tomorrow. So fuck that. But I get paid. So Celtic King, you need to look. Probably just work. Do a Google search for retro Hawaiian shirts, and you're going to start finding the sites. There's a whole bunch of them that have the same or similar designs. I think the first I've ordered from a couple of different ones. I think the first one I ordered for, and I don't know, I think I think I started getting the ads for flamboyant clothes when I clicked on a Dracula clothing ad on Facebook, and I had that brocade vest. So I get ads for super gay clothes on YouTube, which is fun because I buy half of them. Heterosexual men can be flamboyant too. But yeah, the first one was even this is really funny. I did remember the name correctly. The first one I bought from was called Hawa Lily, HAWALILI, and I just searched that on Google, and a bunch of ads for other ones came up. But then the Hawa Lily one. But yeah, basically, if you click on one, then you're just going to keep getting ads for them, which honestly I like because they keep doing new designs, and I really enjoy them. Yes, Celtic, we should be flamboyant. Gender and sexuality should not be a limit to flamboyance. By the same token, gender and sexuality should not force you to be flamboyant. Ladies should not have to wear dresses and frilly things unless they want to. The gay men should not feel compelled to wear flamboyant things unless that's what they like. And the heterosexual men shouldn't be compelled to wear neutral things unless that's what they like. And our non-binary friends should not be compelled to do sort of a vague masculine look. Everyone should do what they want. Invisible Chicken, you have pop culture shirts to have room for flamboyance. I just noticed with my wardrobe, with the stuff that was hanging up, it's now almost, I'll post a picture of it at some point. It's now almost 50-50, half flamboyant shirts, half sort of darker, neutral, more serious shirts. And I separate with my white shirts for work. So it's like flamboyant short sleeve shirts, my white shirts for work, and then my darker and neutral shirts, long sleeve, that I often wear when I'm going out. But it's almost 50-50, which is funny. Hello, Leach. Michael, you can't work from home. Fortunately, I can. I've been working from home since April last year, and I fucking love it. December, work will probably start talking about going back to the office. I'm putting it off for as long as I can because I really like working from home. It's cool. Yes, good vibes, Megalich. I like that. So, yes, I love working from home, and I appreciate not everyone can. And I actually appreciate the last 18 months have been super fucking hard for people who can't work from home, in as much as they've been compelled to keep going into work in one of the more stressful times in recent history, or they haven't been able to work at all. So they've had all sorts of financial stress. I absolutely acknowledge the degree of privilege I have, and how much fucking things worked out for me. And I know been very tough times for lots of people. Lots of businesses are closed. Lots of people lost their jobs. It's been real fucking tough. And of course, lots of fucking people died. Less so in Australia, but right. Pour myself my very clear, almost looks like I'm drinking water. If Shieldsy comes in, tell him I'm drinking water. That's one of the most transparent clarified cocktails I've done in ages. And I made quite a bit of it, so there's more for later. I'm not going to drink that again tonight. This is tonight's drink. Yes, this is from a video that's going to go live on Friday. It's old-fashioned week. It's old-fashioned week. Old-fashioned videos all this week. There's a short video going live tomorrow where I say my fun thing of liven up your old-fashioned by, instead of using sugar, use a fruit liqueur. Oh, Michael, you're a bus driver. Okay, cool. Yeah, no, you can't drive buses from home. That's a thing. That is absolutely a thing. Yes. So there's a short video going live tomorrow where I say, fun way to mix it up with your old-fashioned. Because an old-fashioned is just spirit, sugar, and bitters. Fun thing is, instead of sugar, use fruit liqueur. Because fruit liqueurs are like fucking half sugar. You can really mix it up with an old-fashioned by using a fruit liqueur as the sweetener. So that's YouTube Shorts. Does everyone know YouTube Shorts? Hashtag Shorts. It's the less than 60-second videos that are in vertical mode, designed to be viewed on a phone. YouTube, that's their attempt to fucking compete with Instagram or TikTok. I don't know. I'll show you one. I'll show you one of my shorts. I need to bring up the YouTube app. No, that's the music app. Okay, YouTube. Dun, dun, dun. What comes up? Oh, I come up. Okay. Angry cocktails. Let's search angry cocktails. Where's the last short? Okay. All right. So, like, I'll actually pump up the volume, as the saying goes. So this is my Appletini short.
Having made a sour apple liqueur, it feels to me the obvious drink to make is an Appletini. The first element that's going to go in this cocktail is 2 ounces of apple-flavored vodka. I'm also going to add 1 ounce or 30 mils of my sour apple liqueur. I'm also adding half an ounce or 15 mils of lime juice. And I also have leftover apple syrup from making the sour apple liqueur. And I'm going to add about 1/3 of an ounce, around 10 mils of the apple sugar syrup. We add ice to our shaker, put it together, bang it in hard, give that a solid shake for 10 or 15 seconds. Have a chilled martini glass. We're going to strain the drink into that. And there we have our Appletini. Until I see you again, cheers. Having made a sour apple liqueur.
Why is that doing that again? Stop it. Stop it. So there were some deliberate glitch effects in there. In case you wondered, was there something wrong with my phone or my internet connection? Just for fun, I put glitch effects on that. And yes, Raiders, lots of shorts are just ripped from TikTok. You're absolutely right. So I am occasionally doing shorts just to see if they work for my cocktail channel. Man, that's good. This, by the way, this was an old-fashioned modeled on the Porn Star Martini, which is inexplicably to me the most popular cocktail in the world. So, my Porn Star Martini, my Porn Star Old Fashioned was good, but this clarified Old Fashioned Porn Star, that's just super. It's really good. It's really sweet. A Porn Star Martini, for those unfamiliar with it, is vanilla vodka with vanilla sugar syrup, passion fruit liqueur, and lime juice. Not very sophisticated, and I think vodka's kind of bullshit in cocktails anyway. So for the old fashioned, which again, as I said before, is spirit, sweetener, and bitters. So for the spirit base, I actually split it between Liquor 43, which is a Spanish vanilla liqueur. So we're getting the vanilla flavor and the sweetness. But I wanted it stronger than that. So I split it 50-50 with Liquor 43, which is 30% alcohol, and a white rum agricole from Martinique, which is 55% alcohol. So that evens out to a bit over 40% ABV, which is what a vodka would be. And then for the sweetener, I used a passion fruit liqueur, because that's what you put in a Porn Star Martini, passion fruit liqueur. And then I used lime bitters rather than lime juice. So personally, I think it's a winner. The old-fashioned Porn Star going live on Friday, and this is a clarified old-fashioned Porn Star. And I get to make the joke on the old-fashioned Porn Star video. Careful if you search old-fashioned Porn Star online. Lots of hair is all I'm saying. Right, we discussed Tim Smith's time of the demise. We did laugh about him a lot on a recent stream, but I note I don't know if he's agreed to it yet, but I note that he's being very strongly compelled by the Liberal leader to not contest the next election, which I fucking love, because he's a piece of shit. I mean, all of the LNP are pieces of shit. Victorian LNP particularly, and he's pretty much the worst of the Victorian LNP. Spent the entirety of the pandemic undermining public health messages and just being a fucking piece of shit. So seeing him go down in a screaming heap, fucking hilarious. And for those who missed it, Donut Dick, Dim Tim, on virtually the first night where you could go out, and apparently it was a new car as well. He bought a new Jaguar, went out, got pissed, hit another car, and then crashed into a fence. Blew a blood alcohol level of 0.13, well over double the legal limit. I don't know if they did a blood test as well to get a more accurate reading, but that's what I've heard, 0.13. And his bullshit statement was, "Oh, I believed I was safe to drive, and I was wrong, and it was terrible." And people, it's like, dude, you are fucking pissed, okay? The fact that he wasn't just way over the limit, he fucking crashed. Dude was fucking pissed. So 0.13, for those who know, 0.05 is 3 standard drinks in an hour. So doubling that, and alcoholic drinks only go out of your system at the rate of 1 standard drink an hour. So if you do 3 standard drinks in the first hour and then have 1 standard drink each hour after that, you'll still be over the limit. Now, again, that's like a midi beer. Like, even most glasses of wine are more than a standard drink. Cocktails, depending how they're made, tend to be 2 to 3 standard drinks in a single drink. So it's basically 2 cocktails in an hour is putting you over the limit. In some cases, one cocktail is putting you over the legal limit. Like 2 schooners of beer will put you over the legal limit. 1 pint of beer will put you over the legal limit. So for Donut Dick to have blown 0.13, he essentially, it's like he had 3 standard drinks an hour for a couple of hours in a row, which again, lots of people do. I'm not decrying having a couple of drinks. It's just like, you're 0.13, you know you're drunk. Or like at the moment, I wouldn't be 0.13, but I know I'm over 0.05. There's no way I'd drive at the moment. I wouldn't be 0.13, but I'd definitely be over 0.05. And him that says, I was okay to drive, just means he's a fucking cunt. Hello, Leanne. A new Jacquard. You didn't mean to post it. That's okay. We can all talk about a new Jacquard. And yes, Raiders, you're probably right. He'll get hired by Sky News, which is a subsidiary of News Corp, isn't it? Yeah, it's just like News Corp, generally Sky News specifically, keeps giving jobs to the worst person. And you're right. He'll get a job as a pundit with News Corp and make even more money. It just doesn't have quite as much credibility. He absolutely thought he would be premier one day. And he's the fucking worst. Dislike him so fucking much. Dislike that guy so much. Leanne, I thought you might have been referring to my new shirt, which is a new shirt. Very stylish. One of my, Christ, I must be up to, I've got well over a dozen cocktail shirts now. And there's another 5 coming. Like my last order was 10 shirts and they come in dribs and drabs. I've got 5 of them so far. So sometime over the next couple of weeks, I'll get another 5. I think I've only worn 3 of them on streams. Like they started arriving last week. And I think this is only the 3rd of the new ones I've worn on the stream. I've been hanging it because whenever I buy stuff, particularly when I buy stuff online, but usually if it's from a shop as well, I'll wash it before I wear it because who the fuck knows what's on it from factories and stuff, because they often spray stuff to stop moths from eating it, which is poison essentially. So I always wash clothes before I wear them. And I've washed them all now. I think there's 2 that I haven't worn yet. One arrived just on Friday. I know I haven't worn that. But there's another one. I think I've worn it, but I don't think I've worn it on a stream. So later in the week, more sexy shirts. And then over the coming weeks, like I said, it'll be 5 more. So now I'm up to like 20 or more of these shirts, more than half of which are cocktail themed. So hello. Abigail, how was the martini here from Sunday night? I was a bit most of Monday. Just slightly on Monday. So Abigail and I had a few martinis on Sunday night, and it was an interesting experience. And there's the whole come down thing. It's not. I wouldn't classify it as a hangover. It was just like for most of Monday, I was a very weird sort of tired, and I think my tummy was just slightly unsettled. Last night I had a beautiful night of sleep. Today I've been fine. I'll sleep again tonight and rocking and rolling for. Abigail, I logged on for work on Monday. I was on my computer for work all day on Monday. Thankfully, no one bothered me. There were a couple of messages, a couple of emails, stuff going back and forth. Thankfully, no one bothered me excessively on Monday. I logged on for work on Monday. Leanne, you know what I'm talking about. Formaldehyde. Not so much these shirts. I still wash them. But like the vest that I've already mentioned one tonight from Dracula Clothing, fucking stank of formaldehyde. I got this nice gothy brocade black vest, and it just fucking stank of formaldehyde when I got it. So I washed it, and then I hung it, and I think I actually left it on the line for a couple of days to air out because it fucking stank. Abigail, you slept all day and night, tired. Yeah, I think, see, you're dealing with chronic fatigue and chronic pain. I did. Okay, so what happened? I got home, I logged onto my computer. No one was after me. So I sent some messages. Then I went and laid down for an hour, like at about 8:30. Like I left Abigail's place at like 7 a.m. I got home at 7:30, between 7:30 and 8. I logged on to my work computer, did some shit. I actually went because I had to catch up with people at 10. So between like 8:30 and 9:30, I was lying down and trying to remember if I did have a nap in the afternoon. Working from home, man, fucking rocks. You can have naps. And yes, Safa, that dude, Tim Smith's career is over. But yes, again, Abigail, because I don't have the chronic fatigue and chronic pain, I could kind of tolerate a day of feeling a bit, ugh. And I did feel a bit ugh, the whole day. Oh God, and Abigail will get this. I was thinking today about having a couple martinis and doing something that I would describe as an ASMR stream, where I just had the microphone on the sort of surround sound stereo and just said mystic things to it. It's not on that now, but I had this idea of just doing an ASMR stream with my eyes closed, just saying mystic things into the microphone, which I could probably amuse myself for a couple of hours. And I literally, again, to everyone here, if I ever do that, I will not take it personally if you do not watch it. But I think it would just be funny for me to just do a live stream where my eyes are closed most of the time and I whisper mystic truths into the microphone. So Abigail gets it. Abigail knows what I'm talking about. So but Abigail, again, this is what we could an ASMR. Could you imagine? Because this mic, my Blue Yeti mic, has a couple settings. It's just on straight mic now, but you can have this surround thing. Michael, good night. I hope your driving shift treats you well, my friend. Get some rest ready for your driving shift. But yeah, Abigail, could you imagine? It's almost like with this on 360 surround sound and us on either side of it, whispering mystic truths, having an ASMR stream where we're just doing this, like closing our eyes, being one with the universe, and whispering mystic truths into the microphone. Again, I don't care if there are no viewers whatsoever, and I don't blame anyone for not watching it. Hello, Fox of Fate. You arrived. Survived getting... Oh, nice. You got your 5G upgrade. Was that number 1 or number 2 for you? So that was a lot of fun doing the stream at Abigail's place. I mean, we might do one from Nettie's place one night. She lives in the city. That would give us the excuse to go out in the city, go out to a couple of bars in the city, then go back to Nettie's. And who knows, this New Year's Eve might be like last New Year's Eve, where there's a couple guests here in the house and we do a New Year's Eve. It could happen. Basically, it's just kind of open. Okay, Fox of Fate 2. So takes about 2 weeks for your 5G to be fully operational, but you're in a good space now with dose number 2. Not only is our whole house fully vaccinated now, Mrs. Angry actually got her 3rd dose, her booster, because she works in the health department, and her 2nd dose was 6 months ago. And so they're just getting to the point where they're doing boosters for people whose 2nd dose was 6 months ago. And Mrs. Angry was going to, and she just rocked up to a place and said, can I have a 3rd dose? And they said, yes, bam, done. So fucking A, man. And again, I was looking at the numbers, like Melbourne and Sydney are both quite a bit over 90% of the population has a first dose, and quite a bit over 80% of the population has a second dose. So we are looking at, by Christmas, Sydney and Melbourne probably being 95% double vaccinated, which is pretty goddamn good, honestly. Invisible Chicken, you're getting your upgrade. You're going to get a booster in Feb. It's good. And absolutely. And because my first two were AstraZeneca, and the boosters are going to be Pfizer. And apparently that is regarded as almost the best protection thing. 2 doses of Astra and 1 of Pfizer is regarded as one of the best things. So go me. But I won't get my, because I had my second dose like 2 months ago. So I'm not going to be getting my third dose till, I don't know, February, March, something like that. Nice. Safi, your mum's town's 89% double dosed. Excellent. That's friggin'. Again, I freaking love. You look at the rest of the world, like Europe and Asia and North and South America, all these countries, and this is not universal, but a lot of countries, they had a vaccination rate that went, and it hit 60 to 70%. And then the rate of vaccination just went, oh, like people were still getting vaccinated, but the rate slowed down. Australia just went, fuck yeah, and it shot straight up to 90+%, which is fucking great. And Safi, your town's 84%. Nice. That, and again, that's pretty common, I think. Fox, you won't be getting a booster for a couple of reasons, one of which poorer countries haven't needed in the first. Okay, that is a good point. It's getting to the point where the richer nations are saying, okay, we are going to try as hard as we can to give doses for poorer countries. I will throw out with the whole third dose thing. The big question, would me not getting a third dose make it more likely that someone in a poor country was getting a second dose? Because if that was the case, I would definitely be swayed that way. But I don't think the doses that are going to be here in, 3 or 4 months for me and other people to get a third dose, I don't think those doses are going to be available to people in poorer countries. Our government and other governments should be manufacturing millions of doses for poorer countries. And I absolutely understand where you're coming from. But I don't think me not getting a third dose will make it more likely that someone in a poor country will get their second dose. I just don't think that's how it works at the moment. Again, I would want to see evidence, and I am very open to being introduced to evidence that tells me something I don't know. So we'll see. Oh yeah, that's a reason why Invisible Chicken. Some charities are taking donations for those, but the fucking governments need to do it, and also they need to do it for our sake. Because if the poorer countries have uncontrolled spread of COVID, the risk of vaccine-resistant variant mutating just goes up like that, which will fuck all the rest of us. Oh, Fox, my brother, I am not a fan of needles. Not a fan of needles. But I just be brave and sit there and go, it's fine. I'm just going to get it. Abigail, son's organizing Christmas plans. Wants to know if you're streaming. And we can talk about how to fit in with Christmas plans. I'm not going anywhere on Christmas, that's for sure. I will be at home on Christmas. I have to think about what to do. Oh, yeah, Safa, if Scummo wasn't such a fuck up, we would have been at this stage 6 months ago. But Scummo absolutely fucked the vaccine rollout. Like this outbreak that we had in New South Wales, which New South Wales bled into Victoria in the last couple of months, would not have happened if Morrison didn't absolutely fuck up the vaccine rollout. It's absolutely the outbreak for the last 3-4 months is one. Well, we'll say 50%. It's 50% on Morrison for fucking up the vaccine rollout, and it's 50% on the LNP of New South Wales for fucking up their handling of a Delta outbreak, which they spread to Victoria, and I fucking hate them. And Fox, with the rates being close to 100 by New Year's, guys can make a New Year's trip to New South Wales. You might join. I don't know that I'm that into road trips, man, but it's a fun thought. I am. Mrs. Angry and I actually booked in some travel just within Victoria for about 4 weeks from now. Yeah, so this past weekend, 4 weeks from this past weekend. So I won't be doing live streams on the Friday or Saturday night. I'll be taking a couple nights off live streams. Might maybe do one on the Sunday, but I won't be doing in 4 weeks. I won't be doing one on the Friday or Saturday because I'll be having a weekend away with Mrs. Angry, and I think we picked a place that's right next to a distillery I want to visit. Yeah. So Sapphire, I don't know what a Macron picture with ScoMo talking about, but I love that Macron's just straight out said Morrison's a fucking liar. And Morrison, being the fucking piece of shit that he is, he's going, oh, well, I'm not going to put up with this sledging of Australia. First, Macron didn't say anything about Australia, you fucking piece of shit. He pointed out that you specifically are a liar. That doesn't reflect on me. Second, he's saying sledging. For those not familiar with it, that's a term used in cricket for when the fielding team just tries to put off the person batting by going, you suck, you're a piece of shit, you're fucking, everyone hates you, fuck you. And they try to put off the person batting. So that's called sledging. So Morrison's trying to be, oh, I'm a real Aussie bloke. I'm talking about cricket. It's real Aussie with the sledging and stuff. Like, fuck him. I hate him so fucking much. So Safi's saying your town's got an outbreak, Mum's town no outbreak, next town has an outbreak. Oh man, I've just assumed fucking being in Melbourne, COVID's fucking everywhere, man. I don't go out that much. Like I said, we did have the night out on Halloween, Sunday night. Nettie and Abigail and I went out, checked into a couple of places. Hopefully we didn't bump into anyone who was COVID positive, but we're all double vaccinated. So hopefully we're protected if we did bump into anyone who's double vaccinated. Sorry, no, we're double vaccinated. So hopefully we're protected if we bumped into someone who was COVID positive, which absolutely is a possibility. We did bump into a bunch of people. Might have had physical contact with people in the 7-Eleven at 3 a.m. because I was trying to make friends with them. Again, weird. Having physical contact with strangers, weird. Habakkuk can vouch for that. When the three of us were walking down the street, and it's like 3 a.m., which is, could be dodgy in a place like this one. And I was just shouting as we walked down the street, "Never fear, there's a heterosexual white man in control here. I'm exercising my privilege to its fullest extent. Nothing bad can happen because there's a heterosexual white man here." Which reminds me, not the heterosexual bit, being out at Daddy's place. Oh, the bottles I brought home. I think there's a little bit of drink left in one of these bottles. Okay, what's this? Yep, that's what I was looking for. That's the last of my Woodson and Ford. That was my martini, but we drank it all. That was the Ryeberry. That's all gone. But that's a neat little bottle for making cocktails to either take somewhere or give to someone. Ooh, there's a tiny bit of the citrus left. Oh, and there's a bit of the Kakadu plum left. So I'm thinking what I might do at this point. Have this last bit of Woodson. Okay, we didn't get AIDSy, did we? Even he texted me back and said, "Yay, I'll be there," and he's not. Safa, I do not bet on the horses. I definitely don't endorse Melbourne Cup. And I'm just going to put this limoncello in as well, which is a weird fucking thing to do. But I'm a weird guy. All right. So that's most of my Lux Brew sample bottles gone now. I'll let that little bit of ice chill that drink a bit. It's only 8:45, but again, I always make jokes about it was like literally 40 minutes ago. I texted Aidsy and said, go for it. And he actually replied. What was his reply? He said, thank you. And we don't see him yet. So something happened at Aidsy's place. Yeah. Yes, it was a day off for a 3-minute race for rich people. Again, although there are more than the one race at the Melbourne Cup Carnival, but yeah, I am not on board with the whole Melbourne Cup thing, honestly. Fox, Nettie was particularly disturbed that she had run out of the Cherry Blossom Lux Brew. She loves that, which I think is one I didn't get, actually. All right, let's do it. Let's look up Lux Brew. Lux Brew. No, I'm not going to click on an ad. They pay for that. I'll just click on their listing. Ooh, Lux Brew are opening a cafe. Well, that's fun. Cafe coming soon. Yes, I'm over 18. Home about cocktails, spirits, liqueurs. Where are they? Knoxfield. I actually need to, maybe rather than ordering stuff, I actually need to physically go to Lux Brew. Search Google for that address. Bring it up on maps. Come on. Directions from my place. That's only a half-hour drive. Yeah, I need to do that. I actually think I need to do that. Go for a drive to the Lux Brew place. All right. Oh, what spirits do they make? Vodka, gin, and white rum and spiced rum. Probably more into their liqueurs. And the Bush Foods liqueurs. Lemon, Sakura. That's the one that Nettie likes. The rum char was pretty good. A spiced rum liqueur. That was pretty good. A coffee liqueur. A chocolate liqueur. The Sakura cherry blossom liqueur, the lemon liqueur, which I just had. Now, the bush food liqueurs, the acacia, the riberry, the kakadu, the verbena. I honestly think the ones I'm most likely to get a big bottle of is either the rum char or the acacia wattle seed, because that was wild. It's only 20% ABV. Oh, do they only have the sample size? I thought they did a big bottle of that. Anyway, I'm not going to buy it online. I might go and visit them. Speaking of, I don't know what, but here's Aidsy.
Hello there, punters. Hello there, viewers. Hello there, you. Hello there, the fabulous Angry. How you going?
Hey, brother. How's it going?
Did you watch the Melbourne Cup today?
I did not, no.
Okay, cool.
Oh,
I
right.
didn't
You didn't
get
want to catch
COVID.
anything. You didn't want to catch anything off me. Fair enough.
Because, if you watch the Cup, I didn't want to.
Yeah. No, that's fair. That's fair.
I know it's fair. You know it's fair. Everyone knows it's fair.
Yeah.
You'll note that I've been respectfully shorter than you today.
I do notice that, actually.
Good. And I've got questions. I'm deeply questioned.
Questions.
And I'll tell you why I'm deeply questioned.
Okay.
I was corrected by a woman yesterday.
Oh, no. That sounds harsh.
It was fucking really good. She's awesome.
Yeah. Do you know why I responded like that?
I was corrected by a woman.
No, that's kind of what
I
it
can
seems
see
like.
these like cigarette things, right? Yeah.
Yes.
I like this.
The vape.
you know, and it's all good, and you don't get cancer and stuff, and it's fabulous. Except now everyone's fucking going, oh, it's fucked, everything's fucked, it's really bad. Why? Because it is. Why is that then? Because there's been studies. What are their names? The studies names.
Yeah.
Studies done in places, and they've been peer reviewed by who? What evidence do you've got? The Federal Drug Administration did 3 of them, and so did the TGA.
Yeah. Well, and it's because the worst carcinogens from cigarettes come from the fact it's actually burning stuff.
Yeah.
And it's abrasive carbon that's going down your throat and into your lungs, which is actually ripping apart the surfaces, which makes you more prone to cancer. Your biggest problem with vape is, well, basically poison in them. They badly made vape juice, either with dodgy shit or with too much nicotine, you could effectively be poisoning yourself.
Absolutely poison
yeah.
yourself. And
Yeah.
The other bad thing with nicotine is that
Yeah.
it slows wound healing.
Okay.
It actually slows wound healing. So if you've got like a massive, like a big, deep wound, you really shouldn't be into the nicotine.
Yeah.
They're really not into you having patches on if you've got a big, deep wound on. They're really not
right.
for that. However, when I had a big, deep wound, managed to assure them that without a patch, I would kill every single one of them in the room. And they relented.
It's like potential danger versus imminent danger. Like, yes, maybe there might be some longer term health issues for me, but definitely short term, AZ will punch someone.
If you rip that patch off me, Claret is imminent.
Yeah. Also, want to say hello to Random Guy on
Random Guy
on Twitch. He's saying it's true, but also, I don't know if you noticed what I called the stream BBC Day, because it is actually the anniversary of the BBC starting regular TV broadcasts. I just did warn people, if you're wondering what it's about, just be careful searching BBC on the internet. Because in terms of single entendres, big black cock. And yes, Random Guy did say, seeing it's Big Black Cock Day, careful talking about big deep wounds while it's also BBC Day. Because course, you will definitely get some weird sights at that point. Yeah, I know, right?
You know, I have got Indigenous heritage, and
definitely getting some weird stuff at that point. I was going to do a really bad taste visual pun with a thumbnail, which I resisted. There's a famous image that gets used as a meme a lot now, and it's from some porn site. A very petite young blonde lady, and I mean, like, she looks like she might not be 5 foot tall, and behind, she's sitting on a lounge with a nice smile, and behind her are like 6 black guys who are all clearly well over 6 foot and looking at her in a particular way. And so we know what scene happens next on the porn site. So that's used as a meme a lot. And I was going to do like a green screen thing with BBC chroma keyed. So inside each letter, you could see the image behind it. And I was just going like,
nice.
That's nice. I also thought, bordering on racist, I'm not going to do it.
Bordering on racist, and half of our viewers would fucking blow their fucking minds. With anger.
It just seemed a bit gratuitous. Everyone knows what I mean when I go BBC. You don't need to be more overt than that.
I do.
That's what I said. Those missing it, single entendre, big black cock.
By the way, did you manage to show everyone my dick pics?
I didn't. Do you still have them there with you?
I emailed them to you.
Yeah, no, I have the images. I thought you might have the original artwork there.
Well, fuck, I don't know, man.
All right. Well,
Really
let's-
tired when I did them. I crashed.
okay.
As soon as I emailed them to you, I just crashed, which was why
That's fair.
I said, I don't think I'll play because I wasn't feeling very well. And
Yeah.
I thought, oh, I've got to do something. I know I'll do some dick pics. And I thought, I've said it now. What am I going to do? And then I did it.
Ugh.
And I thought, I'm not sure. But anyway, I've got questions as well.
Okay, questions.
Because this woman corrected me. See,
Yeah.
this vape here, right, is wonderful because it gives you the correct amount of nicotine without killing you. The nicotine I buy from New Zealand, and then I give it to them, and I say, you will mix this for me. And they do, into some wonderful flavors. And they do a wonderful job of mixing. And effectively, what happens is they leak. They don't leak much, but they leak, and it's all sticky and horrible. And it's really, really small, but it's enough to coat your hands with ick. And I said, how am I, I'm trying to stop the leak. And she gave me several versions last time. And yesterday she said, why don't you turn off the tap of the air filter where it leaks out of when you put it away? And I went, if you're just going to talk crazy talk, I'm going to complain to your boss. And so we had a giggle and a big chat, actually. It was really nice. And so I've been doing that. I've been turning off my vape when I'm not using it, so it doesn't leak. Right?
Sure.
And it was one of those things like, why the fuck didn't I think of that? It's such the simplest fucking thing, right?
Yeah.
And you know, because you've walked around town with me a lot and scolded me on more than one occasion, on two occasions, in fact, of going, AZ, it doesn't matter. When I ask, why is that? And I'll look at something like a neon sign, and there's something about it. And I'll say, why do they do it like that? And you have on occasion gone, it doesn't matter. AZ, it doesn't matter. It's not important. It's not going to hurt anyone. It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
You know, it's just a fucking detail of our world that will never interact with you. And I've gone, that's fair enough. Now, admittedly, on both occasions, we were sponsored fairly heavily.
We were sponsored by chemical industries.
Chemical industries. We were by chemical industries. I was going to say, and I'm not. Chemical industries, we were heavily sponsored. So I had to be very careful what I said on video. I think we both did. So that led me to go, well, all right, I'm gonna maybe be on tonight. I'm gonna maybe have access to people because the court order says that I'm not allowed to be within 2 kilometres of school or 500 metres of a person, and I'm not allowed to communicate with them without having my guarantor and my guardian present. So, and it's got to be in writing, and I've got to make 2 copies. So one gets sent to the Victorian, the VACC. Anyway, so I thought what I'd do is I'd ask some questions.
Yep.
Okay.
I just sent you important information, that's all.
And you know what? That important information comes up on my computer screen.
Oh, does it? Okay, that's
yes, it does.
I thought you hadn't even gone to look at the phone, and you already know. Okay,
I don't even have to look at the phone; it just pops up and says, "You've got a
that's
message."
handy.
And I look at the message and I go, "Oh." Yeah. And people have sent me messages before while we've been on.
I did. This is the first time I've realised that. Okay, that's cool. That's cool.
Yeah, no, people have sent me messages before while we've been on the the live stream, and the messages have been pictorial in nature, and they've popped up, and I've gone,
Good. I know. Also, I know Abigail said
fabulous in my mind, but I've just had to go. Anyway,
Abigail points out your life would be much easier if a manly male man pointed out the stuff to you. But, you know, you took the hard road and had to have a woman tell you something. So, I mean, it just would have been
the
easier.
shock of it. The
It
shock
would,
of it.
it would have been easier if a man said it, but, you know.
Well,
Yeah,
I would have taken it so much.
in more ways than one. In more, I was about to say, starting that sentence, if a man had handed it out, I would have taken it. So, yeah.
Well, I took it when
Yikes.
she handed it out. Put it that way.
Let me
And
just
I
take a
start-
deep drink of while you say that. And sorry.
Anywho,
Anywho,
I got to thinking, well, you know, there's lots of things that I think are obvious that aren't, to me, obvious.
Yeah.
And they're only obvious once they're pointed out to me. And I'm going to start off
yeah.
by saying, thank you. Yes, I know.
Yeah,
I
that
know,
was not
I know.
me. Oh, that
It's
was
true.
the second one, like you didn't hit the button for the first one.
No. It's
There's another
the same
message?
one.
No, that's what I mean. They do that. If you don't hit the button on the phone saying I saw
Yeah,
that,
that says,
a minute
hey,
later
you've got
it
a
goes,
message.
dickhead.
Sir,
Yeah.
Message.
Yeah.
Hey.
Yeah.
Hey.
It's not smart enough to know you saw it on your computer screen.
Wozniak and the dead one didn't, you know, put all that effort in for you just to ignore me. I shouldn't say the dead one, should I?
Yes, you fucking should. Honestly, as an aside, the dead one is Steve Jobs. And Steve Jobs is the classic example of someone who's pretty smart, who assumes the thing they're smart in translates to literally everything. So when he had, what was it, bowel cancer or something?
It was liver cancer. It was actually pancreatic cancer. And one of the few fucking versions which they could have cured by a surgery. And he decided to go herbal. I lost my mind when I heard that.
Yeah, he said he could do it with meditation and herbal medicine. The board of Apple went, no, you can't. And he said, yes, I can. And then, and this is going to shock people, his herbal meditation route did not cure his pancreatic cancer. And so very late, he started medical intervention. It did extend his life by a couple of years. But if he hadn't been such a fucking cock, he'd probably still be alive today.
Well,
but
pancreatic cancer is one of those ones that is so hard to fix that it almost always kills you. It almost always kills you.
Yeah.
And the reason it's so deadly is it doesn't hurt until the last sort of few months, and then it's really unpleasant. Unpleasant. Jesus Christ! You die screaming in a cancer ward. It doesn't hurt. Nothing happens. Like you don't have any effect yet. It's one of those ones they catch in a random screen. And where it is in your pancreas is very, very important, because if it's on the edge, they can actually cut it out and you're going to be okay. And that's where his was. And doctors usually cry when they find it out, because it's like, I can't get one. Because pancreatic cancer just have the fuckedest job in the world, because they go around all day telling people, sorry, you're going to die in several years. It does take years to kill you, and it's totally uncurable. It's fucked. It's just fucked. And I'm kind of, when I get rich and famous, cancer is going to be one of those things that I try and fix.
No. I'm okay with calling him the dead one, because it was his own arrogance that killed him.
Well, the other thing too that I found out was when they did the Apple computer, which they had to sell someone to make Apple happen. They were paid $5,000, and he gave Bill Wozniak, who stayed awake, Steve Wozniak, who stayed awake for 3 nights, getting the code up and running and the chip ready for 3 nights, right? To get it, basically the computer to go. He got $500. So the guy who has quietly actually made it all happen got the fucking engineers check, and the guy who fucking did the bullshit at the boardroom got the fucking salesman's check, and
Yeah.
that's the trouble with American business. And
Oh yeah,
furthermore,
Jobs was
Australian
the
business. But
marketing
you and I
guy.
are going to fix that.
Jobs was the sales guy and the big picture guy and the marketing guy. Although my favorite Jobs story, like one that I actually like about him, there's a lot of Jobs stories that point out what a piece of shit he was. But in the pre-Apple days, even Jobs and Wozniak were in the Homebrew Computer Club. But the popular thing in the 70s, before everyone had personal computers, was phone freaking. Hacking the phone system to get free calls and do shit. And Jobs actually got pulled over by a cop once, and he had a black box in the car, which was a phone hacking box. It was to plug into stuff. And the cop was suspicious, which actually, for the mid-70s, was a particularly switched on cop. You have something in there, an electronic device that I think is dodgy. Most cops wouldn't even notice it. But it was, and Jobs's fast talking convinced the cop it was totally innocent, and the cop let him go. But it was a serious criminal device.
Oh yeah.
If he had been caught with it, that was like 5 to 10 years in a federal
Easy.
prison.
Back in those days, phone freaking was really full on.
Because it fucking upset the authorities that these weird drugged up hippies could control the phone system. My personal favorite was the hacker Captain Crunch. And I met him at a rave in Australia, and he was a major burnt out acid freak hippie, which was fucking hilarious. But he was called Captain Crunch because what the phone freakers all worked out, the phone system worked on tones. When you put money in, it made certain tones go down the phone. If you could recreate those sounds down the phone line, the phone system thought you'd paid for your call. And there was a particular tone for long distance calling. And he worked out that's a pretty standard sort of thing. And there was a plastic whistle that came as a toy in Captain Crunch cereal in the mid-70s. And this one hacker is going like, those are pretty simple noises. And he got this plastic thing and he's playing with it with his fingers. He's going, yeah, I can recreate that. And everyone said, bullshit. And he says, watch this. And they go to a phone booth and he picks up the phone and gets his little plastic whistle and goes, and then it said, please dial your number. And he dials a number on the other side of the country and gets a free. And that's in the 70s. Long distance calls were expensive. They were a couple dollars a minute. With mobiles,
but it goes deeper than
we're
that.
used to essentially getting free calls now. But as recently as the 90s or early noughties, long distance calls were quite expensive.
Fucking expensive. If you fucking dial STD at home from your home phone, and remember back in those days, Angry, we had to dial from a building to another building to get a person.
Yeah. Sometimes, you had to talk to an operator and say, I want you to connect me to...
That was bad. That was always bad.
That was like 75% of the 20th century. Again, people don't realize 75% of the 20th century, you had to talk to an operator and say, hi, operator, I want to call a person in another city. This is their number. And the operator would go. And there were all these physical exchanges where the operators had all these wires and plugs and they'd make network connections. The original telephone operators were incredibly skilled engineers, essentially, because they understood how to make these and that's what you had for 75% of the 20th century. You had to talk to a person and say, can you connect me to this number?
But also the trouble was that a lot of the time toward the end of the phone operator time, they would be listening in, and if you said a rude word or something wrong, get in shit. Your call was not private, even though there were laws in place to say it was. There was all kinds of laws to say the police couldn't tap your phone, but the operator could tell the police what you'd said, and you were fucked.
There were two things that were very common certainly up to the 70s and possibly slightly beyond. One was the operators listening to your call. Second was early social media was called a party line. There was this number you could call, and multiple. You're sitting here with your landline, your rotary phone, and you've called. This was not so big in Australia, it was bigger in America. You would call the number, and it would just be a bunch of randos in your city talking to people they didn't know. And but you would have multiple people on this group call called a party line. That was like original social media. That was in the 60s and 70s.
Also in some
Wild shit.
rural. Sorry, go on.
No, that was it.
In some rural parts of Australia, because of the way the exchanges were set up, because of the minimum amount of people out in the country, the lines were all party lines.
Yes.
There's one line into the exchange servicing 20 properties.
Yeah.
And so if you got on the phone to call anyone, you had to wait till Mrs. McGinty was finished with her call, and you could hear her call.
Yeah.
And then she'd put it down, and the operator would go ahead, Mr. Celia. And then I'd say, yes, of course, just reminding you, I'm talking to Mr. Angry. And she'd go, yes, I've patched you through. He's on the line now. And I'd go, I know you fucked my wife. I'm coming around there with some sheep crutches, and I'm going to castrate you. And she'd go, okay, Mrs. Jones, it's your turn now. I've just got to pop away and call the police.
And again, because growing up in Dubbo, it was the exchange. You went to a public phone. People in Dubbo, you could dial direct, but all the little towns, and these are very little towns, like dozens to a couple hundred people in them, you dialed an operator. You go like, Wellington, Yamunjeri, Wongarvan. You were calling an operator and say, hi, and they go, good afternoon, Yamunjeri. Go, yeah, can you put me through to Sally Smith, please? Sure. And you had to go through a fucking operator as well. Sorry, I just noticed Musical Aviator said someone reminded him tonight was Melbhenge, which I'm sad I missed, because the grid structure on Melbourne, there's one day a year where at sunset, when you look down the streets that go east-west, you are looking straight into the sun, and it's very cool. Now you mention it, Musical Aviator, I'm really sad.
You can sort of see it again tomorrow night.
Oh, yeah. It is, but I'm not going to the city.
But tonight,
I would have done it tonight because it's a holiday. I would have done it, but
the trouble about me going out tonight was it was hot, and I was going to.
It was very hot. First hot day of spring.
I'm not good in the heat, and I'm also swollen anyway, which was why I didn't get up last night. I was just so I looked like a baboon. My jaws had swollen up, and my hands were like sausages, and I was going. Yeah, I don't think I'm going to play tonight. I still managed to do some fine artwork though. Anyway, I was going to ask some questions, and I want to start with Karen's.
Okay.
We all know what Karens are, and we all know what Karens look like, but I've found that there are two further versions of Karens.
Oh, okay.
Right. There are I'm not going to say younger, but I'm going to say sort of younger-ish, but Karen in disguise. And she doesn't have the plastic head mask on. You know how they've got the hair that you couldn't bash through with a hammer and it's waterproof, and also the waterproof coat. All Karens are identified by the 90-degree line their nose makes with the perpendicular of their spine. So they're always looking down their nose at whoever they're speaking. They could be 4 foot tall, but they're still looking down their nose at whoever they're speaking to. And I've noticed there's the Karen who doesn't wear the normal Karen uniform, but has a sort of headscarf wrap around her head. just so. Wears a very expensive shirt, looks like it's from an op shop, and a batik shift or other patterned print, which is clearly made out of bamboo or sustainable. It's also very expensive, but looks like it's just something she picked up from a little boutique somewhere. Is often pushing a stroller with a Tarquin or a Siabahan in it. And there's the third Karen, which is an older Karen, has the uniform of the middle Karen on, a slightly different hair color. Only slightly different. And she's also pushing a stroller, but she's usually got a dog in it. Do they have different names, or are they all just Karens of a different stripe?
I would just call them Karens. It's too complicated to think up names for the subspecies. I guess
is what it is, isn't it? It's a subspecies of Karen. But
you could potentially
we can all go monkey.
Yeah.
And go, that's a monkey.
Yeah.
You know.
You could potentially have fun thinking up faux Latin names for them, like Carinus strollerus or something.
Latin names for Karens. Thank you. See, this is what I mean. The obvious that just should have been there in my head but wasn't. Latin names for Karen.
Yeah. they're just the subspecies of the genus Karen.
Names for Karen.
So I'm just thinking of the white American women I've seen online going like, Karen is a slur. It's terrible and awful, and you should be ashamed. Anyway, here's why Confederate statues should stay up. And
yes.
Oh my fucking God. The lack of self-awareness.
Don't you call me a Karen. Don't you call me a Karen. We should be proud of our Confederate history.
No. Yeah, it's as some people have pointed out, what it is at the moment. Again, the not real thing, the latest not real thing, the Americans in particular, the white fucking racist as fuck Americans are obsessed with at the moment is critical race theory, which is actually a thing. It's a field of study in tertiary academia, but they translate it into just this weird thing that kids in school are being taught white people are evil. And someone interestingly pointed out, it appears the same people who actively protested against desegregation of schools in the 60s are now protesting against anyone being able to be taught that white people violently protested against desegregation of schools. So it's like the same people who did the racist shit are upset if you tell kids today this is the racist shit that used to happen. It's like, oh,
yeah, very too. Yeah,
so,
I understand that. I have met a lot of white Australians who are very anti our Indigenous cousins, and they're very anti Aboriginal technology. There is an argument that the first machine ever made in the world was here in Australia.
One of the aquaculture thing for catching fish. Yeah, the fish trap.
Fish trap.
Yeah.
And they're literally 30,000 years old.
Yeah.
Right. So that's the oldest provable machine that's ever been made. And these same people go, oh, why are we adoring a race that didn't even invent the wheel?
They didn't need wheels. They didn't have beasts of burden.
Maybe because they invented aerospace technology first. Have you seen a boomerang, you fuckwit?
Yeah.
Have you
And
seen a
a
Jarrah
woomera.
spear thrown 150 meters and go through a tree, cockhead?
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
but that's just me. That's
Yeah.
just me.
There was the ones you brought up were the people who lost their fucking mind at Bruce Pascoe's book, Dark Emu, where he just said, look, I just looked up a bunch of journals of settlers, white colonizers, who didn't even understand what they were documenting, but they documented it nevertheless. And what they were documenting were huge swaths of the countryside that were deliberate agriculture, deliberate growing of grain and whatnot. And then the colonizers introduced fucking hoofed animals, which destroyed it all. Like in a generation, they destroyed planned agriculture that had existed for tens of thousands of years.
Thousands of years. But there were also stone houses and villages.
Yes.
And,
yeah. And they were finding stuff, and they were
the
just
trouble
like,
with that is that if you go into a place, if you've claimed a block of land and there's a stone village in it, that makes it very difficult to say the animals that live here don't own it.
Yeah.
Makes it very difficult if an animal's built a house with plumbing to go, no, these aren't real people and it's all mine. It makes it very difficult. So what's best to do is to shoot them and to pull all that shit apart and to throw the rocks around the paddock. You'll find in a lot of farms that there's one paddock with a lot of rocks in it. But
because they destroyed something that was there.
That's an odd geological formation. Wonder how that got there. The rocks are all, of course, similarly shaped and about the same size. Odd.
Yeah. Possibly my two favorite bits of Dark Emu were from the same person. There was a family, there was a couple of brothers who went further down the Murray than any other white colonizers had gone, because it was basically, again, not everyone knows that we used to call the farmers squatters. And the reason we called them that is they literally just went past the control of the provincial colonial government and said, well, I own this now because there's no one white here to stop me. And so they were referred to as squatters.
And they were encouraged to do so.
Yeah. And they were the fun. I always love the term the squattocracy, because after a couple of generations, they thought they were better than everyone else. They thought they were the aristocracy.
Well, they did have more money than anyone else.
They did have more money. They did have more money. But anyway, so this was like the first.
Those families still have more money.
They still do. This was the first guys, these brothers who went down the Murray from Sydney towards Victoria. They went and there wasn't a New South Wales. It was all New South Wales at that point. But anyway, modern politics, they were going from Sydney down towards Victoria, and they went further down the Murray than anyone had gone. And the same guys have my two favorite bits from Dark Emu. One is they found some people who were living there who were shouting something in chorus as they came down the river, and they went, they seem happy. I think that's saying hello. And they tried to transcribe in their notebook what the guys were shouting. And modern language scholars go, look, okay, this person tried to write it down phonetically, what was being shouted at them, which they thought was hello. It doesn't match anything from any languages from the nations in that area. The closest thing it comes to phonetically could be loosely translated as, if you don't fuck off, I will spear you. And these white guys are like, they seem happy. They seem happy. They're glad I'm here.
Happy. They're fine.
And
yes,
language scholars
nice.
are like,
nice.
we're reasonably sure. We're reasonably sure they were saying, fuck off or we will spear you. And what AZ and I were talking about, the fish catching dams and stuff that were built on various rivers. This was stuff the First Nations people did literally. They didn't go fishing. they built this complex network of
Hexagonal
levees
trap.
and dams and whatnot, where
Yep.
fish would end up swimming up to this little pool where you could just pick them up and take them. Like, yep, there's dinner. And these same white guys, when they saw this incredibly complex, ingenious thing to just go, yep, there's a fish, they went, my God, they're lazy. That's the laziest way I've ever. White men spend hours sitting there with a fishing rod or a net. And
This is
these
proper work. That's proper work.
guys had built this incredibly complex network of canals and dams and dikes to just channel fish, where the fish would go to a point where they could reach in and just go, yep, there's dinner. And they're
But more
lazy.
than
It's
that,
the laziest
more
thing I've
than
ever
that,
seen.
these traps were designed to catch fish of a certain size and
Yeah.
species.
Yeah.
So tonight, if you wanted brown trout,
Yeah.
you went to that trap. But if you wanted red belly trout, you went to that trap.
Yeah.
If you wanted river bass, you went to the other trap. And they were designed to catch them at a certain size, so that if they're too small, they could get away again. So they get bigger and come back and get caught. Thing is, you didn't hit the trap every day, because they could swim around in the trap eating quite happily and getting fatter. But couldn't get out, and they wouldn't go off. And then when you fish and chips,
feed a whole family. Just reach in and grab a meal for the entire family.
For everyone, and then pop on back, and then I'll finish this painting and then I'll go and get some fish. Yeah, all right, that'd be nice.
Yeah. The other one I like is, again, for those who don't know, like all medicine was herbal medicine at one point. It's just the stuff that actually works. They worked out how to manufacture it at scale. And there are some herbal stuff, I think, but even like aspirin was willow bark, right? Someone clever worked it. And again, First Nations people here, they worked out there was particular tree bark that if it got into the water, had a narcotic effect, and the fish would just float to the. So they just pulp up some tree bark and drop it in the water, and the essence of it dissipates out the water. I think what it was actually doing was lowering the oxygen content of the water, and fish in the water would just go, oh my fuck, I can't breathe. And they would float up, but they're completely fresh and not poison. You're not poisoning them. You're just taking away the oxygen content. So it's just like, I just worked out, I noticed the effect this bark has. So if I pulp up this bark and then put it in the water.
So you go to a billabong and you put
Yeah.
the stuff in, and then what you do is you take a branch of the same tree and you put it next to the water on the billabong shore where you'd get the fish out, because you'd stand at a certain point in the billabong to get the fish out because it was easy. That's where that will go.
Yeah.
Right. And as the tree branch got old and brown and dead, then you'd know the poison was gone and the water was fresh again, and you could either re-poison it or drink it. But you would know not to drink it if the tree branch was fresh, because then it's just been poisoned and deoxygenated and probably had dead shit in it. So leave that alone, or boil the crap out of it for 4 hours.
I know Safa asking a big question. Was colonization worse in the US or Australia? And I'll go first and just say this is betraying a blank spot in my knowledge. My understanding is because the US isn't as much desert in Australia, the indigenous population was orders of magnitude greater. So the colonization of the US killed and displaced many more indigenous people than Australia, simply because there were more people there, because it wasn't vast fucking areas of desert. There are deserts in the US, but nothing compared to Australia. So off the top of my head, was it worse? I think there were more people killed in the US by colonizers. And in fact, AZ, you do a thing. I'm going to look it up.
I think maybe it was worse in America because America was an easier place for Europeans to live initially. Australia was a lot harder for Europeans to live initially because it was a much harsher environment, a much more deadly environment. And so you couldn't just rock up and put seeds in the ground and they would grow, because they fucking wouldn't. There was never enough water anywhere. Had to have a laugh. I watched a YouTube video where Australians are filming a large creek, nearly half a river, actually filling up, and they're all screaming and whistling and saying, screaming, "Send it down, Huey." The comments underneath it are basically from our American cousins going, "What's the big fucking deal? It's just a river." And I had a bit of a giggle to myself saying, here, that's actually more expensive than gold. So, yeah, it's a big deal. With water, you can grow anything. With water, you can feed anything. With water, the plants that feed you will grow, that feed the animals that you eat will grow. The animals will be around. Without the water, nothing happens, nothing grows, everything dies. And there was no water for the Europeans to make their farms go. And the stuff that they liked to eat was very water intensive. And as a result, it was harder for the Europeans initially to get a foothold. So the locals had a better shot at slowing the progress of the colonials across the land. And the colonials really didn't have the place to themselves until about 1910. About 1910 was the last of the big insurgencies in Western Australia. And then from then on in, it was sort of, it was over. But what's happening now, and it doesn't surprise me, but it's something that has reminded me of a truism I've heard somewhere else, is that people make culture, land makes people.
Yeah.
And some of the things that we as Australians take for granted, right, are built into us by the environment in which we live. I knew a New Zealand comic who said one of the things that he was fascinated by Australians was that our art was never going to be high art. And I thought, I'm not going to be offended straight away. I'm going to listen to his reasoning.
Yeah.
And he said, because in Australia, nothing that has no use is worth anything. If it is useless, it is worthless. If it doesn't go, it's worthless.
Yeah.
And he's right. If something no longer functions or is functionless, right? Even art has to do something. It has to move you. It has to have an effect on you. But if it's just there as an object, as a nothing, then it's bullshit, and you might as well consign it to up your ass. You don't expect to get paid for this, do you, cockhead? We even have different graffiti here in Australia because it's got to have a purpose. If it doesn't have a purpose, then what the fuck are you doing? There was a guy who resprayed a graffiti lane in the city and turned it all blue. Just resprayed it blue.
Yeah. I saw that, right. I saw that reported at the time. This was a few years ago, and somewhere on my social media timeline there are photos of this. When I heard this guy, he like painted Hosier Lane and the side lanes off that, covered everything, painted it blue. And when I heard that, I thought, what a prick. That sucks. And I went there to take pictures. It was fucking incredible. It was fucking amazing. Just walking through this blue space. And also, it then created a new canvas for people to paint over. But I went there before much had been painted over it. And being in this totally blue space was fucking amazing. It was incredible. You
And
raised a couple
indeed,
of...
I also
Hmm.
heard about this and lost my fucking mind. I was
Yeah.
furious.
Yep. I
that
thought the
this
guy was a
prick
prick, but it was
had
amazing.
fucking covered all this art up
Yeah.
with his fucking fascistic idea of what
Mm.
his vision was, which was
Yeah.
of nothing and the
Yeah.
useless nothing. Of course, it was
Yeah.
amazing.
It was amazing.
And it refreshed the space.
It did. It absolutely. And
Totally
then it was just
refreshed
all
the
new
space.
art.
It basically made a new canvas.
Yeah.
And but see, this is exactly what I'm talking about. This plugs straight back into
Yeah.
what I'm talking about. What
Yeah.
this does is automatically say it goes. It's for something. It is
Yeah.
useful. It
Yeah.
goes.
Yeah.
Right. Before, when it didn't go,
Yeah.
that was enough for him to be taken and shot. But
Yeah.
after we discovered, oh, no, it goes. He has
Yes.
demonstrated goage.
Yeah. I wanted that. You brought up a couple of things. One is you reminded me of a sketch or possibly a series of sketch ideas that we never actually developed, but I thought had a lot of legs. I don't know if you remember. We were going to have videos about the Kaisan Festival of Art, what looks like things. We never fully did that. It was the idea of some very Aussie blokes who had no time for bullshit wanky art, but the art festival was we would only allow art what looked like things. That was the case. And again, Kaisan's a Cold Chisel reference, 80s pub rock for those who know. You might. So, but okay. Second, I also want to say hello to Annette and Nobody who appeared while we were talking then. Very plus. And the other thing, I did just do a little bit of searching. I thought that the numbers in the Americas was going to be much worse than Australia in terms of colonization. But yes, most estimates since the 1400s, when colonization of the Americas, so that's all of North and South America, the death toll from colonization is in the tens to hundreds of millions of people. In some estimates, 95% of the indigenous people were killed. And that was mostly from disease, sometimes accidental and sometimes deliberate spreading of disease. But so the numbers of colonization in the Americas is from the tens to hundreds of millions. The number of Indigenous Australians killed by colonizations, again, very imprecise because no one kept records, but it's more like tens to hundreds of thousands. So in terms of number of people killed, and that's just in a 250 year period, compared to 600 year period, the death toll in the Americas was 10 times higher. No, sorry, 1,000 times higher than.
Also, too, it's said, well, it has been said to me by a black individual, a black Australian individual, that the per capita numbers of dead Indigenous were much lower than the per capita numbers of American Indigenous, and higher than Maori Indigenous. So Maori Indigenous suffered and died, but as a culture, they are one of the few Indigenous cultures that got a treaty.
Yeah, because they were warriors.
And this is what my black friend was saying. He was saying the trouble with the Australian Indigenous way was it was many nations, that were used to fighting each other. They were not used to fighting together against a common invader. The common invader was very, very used to taking over continents. The Redcoats were real good at it by this time. They'd done it many times before, and they knew all the fucking tricks, and they used all of them this time because you got to understand politically, the British had to win Australia. They had no choice. They just lost America.
Yeah.
If they lost another continent, Europe was going to eat them alive. And they had no choice but to show that they were powerful enough to take another continent. Basically, there is a lot of evidence these days now that shows that a lot of Cockney warriors that were family-less and that were press-ganged were basically killed in Australia with no record. They were put on ships. They were brought over here as soldiers. They were put into the field. There was a lot more dead British soldiers in the ground than was ever recorded. Why? Because they couldn't lose. They had to keep on pouring money and people into this place because politically they could not lose Australia.
Yeah.
There's no fucking way. If the Dutch got it, or if the Germans got it, or if the French got it, Britain was fucked. They were worried that the French were going to take America because the French had helped the United States become the United States.
The French were very friendly.
Turned around and told France to go and fuck off. And the French were so happy about that that they tried to sue them and took over half of Canada.
It's and also with the Americas, it was easier to get there, and they progressively, over a couple of 100 years, built up colonizers in sufficient because they only started, particularly in the United States area, they only started seriously murdering the native peoples in the 1800s. In South America, they've been murdering them since the 1400s.
That's right.
And fucking New Zealand, all the way around the world, and it takes a long fucking time to get a boat full of people here. And you actually hit a small island that has one of the fiercest warrior cultures on the planet. Like, we all go like, oh, the noble native peoples. The Maoris were fucking murdering everyone else in the Pacific.
They were brutal. They were fucking brutal.
You look at their histories and you find a story like, oh, there was this, a few hundred miles away from New Zealand was this lovely peace-loving island nation, and the Maoris wiped them out. And you say, and they kept records of it and go like, well, why did you just murder all these people? And go, soft as fuck, man. Why didn't they put up a fight? And it's like, because they were peaceful. Yeah, well, that's what fucking peaceful gets you.
What peaceful gets you. And you gotta understand too, the Australians, the Indigenous Australians, they were not a peaceful people. They were not. They
Frontier
were not
wars.
bunnies.
Again, shit we don't
to fucking people up.
Shit we don't get taught in Australian schools. The frontier wars lasted until the 1920s. There was armed resistance through to the 1920s.
Right. They were not pushovers, but they just weren't good at linking together with their neighbours because they hated their fucking neighbours because their neighbours were always fighting them for the resources. In Australia, resources are hard to get. The first resource you want in Australia is water.
Which
and
is
if you are near water,
available.
you are rich.
Yeah.
And it is nothing for your tribe or nation to fucking attack another nation for water. It is nothing to do that. That is the piece of piss. Now, the other thing you got to remember is that the Australian Indigenous people are hierarchical as fuck. You get, and this is the bizarre part, right? This is unusual. You get essentially a bicameral house. Right? So you get two families, who are at the top of the hierarchy. One family is on the ascendant for like 100 or 1,000 years, and the other family is on the ascendant for 100 or 1,000 years. That's why you get a lot of fights over mining rights and land rights today, because the co-owners don't get it together because it's one of the families said yes and the other one said no.
Yes, you still get family fights now.
Right, you get family fights now, and so you've got these two families basically keeping the government in check, and I thought that was brilliant. And that's how you get a society lasting for 50,000 years, is to get checks and balances. You can't do that because it's against the law. So if you do that, the whole of the population will be against your family and you'll lose. But if you do right way, then you'll be okay. And everyone's got their responsibilities as you go down the food chain. So as you come down, you've got the clever men, then you've got the warriors, and then you've got the hunter-gatherers, who are the working class. And they pretty much do as they're told. And they
Sorry, I'm just going to cut across you to say good night, Abigail, because she's leaving us. And hello, Justin, who just joined us as well.
Good night, Abigail. Hi, Justin.
You still have the family shit now, like, because again, growing up in country New South Wales, story of someone going like, no, I can't go out to Burke because a cousin of mine fucked up someone from another family, and if I go there, they all know who I am and they know what family I am, and I'll get fucked up if I go there. So until that gets sorted, I'm not going there.
I can't go there. Yeah.
And it was always the funniest ones was the political folk who lived in the cities, who would, doing great work advancing the Indigenous cause in politics, but they were a little disconnected from their country cousins. And if someone from Sydney showed up somewhere in the bush and said, all right, I've been cutting a deal, this is the thing that's going to happen. It's like, dude, this is going to end so badly for you. Because you're going to go, because you've literally been talking to the government. The government is listening to you. So then you go out to the people who live in the bush and say, all right, this is how it's going to be. And like, who the fuck are you? I was going to say his name, but he's actually a good guy, so I don't want to shit on him. But he's I'm Gary Foley. And that he's our generation. This is like from the 80s. This is shit I saw. He was doing great work.
He was doing great work
in Redfern. And then he'd go out to friggin' Dubbo or Burke and say, this is how it's gonna be. And people would go, the fuck are you? He's like, no, I talked to the government and said, you talked to a bunch of white people. Who the fuck cares what you said to white people?
Real different.
It's real hard, sort of. And it was, okay, far funnier was white people who thought they were doing good work. Like Midnight Oil came up against this in the 80s, which I thought was hilarious. And they ended up being very honest about it. They were trying to, they were very pro Aboriginal rights. And they did this tour, the Dead Heart tour, and they went to all these communities. And they started off with their rock and stuff and I love Midnight Oil. I love their music. And they showed up to these things saying like, all right, we're going to put on a show and we're going to raise rights. And the people are going, fuck are you playing? That doesn't sound like fucking Chuck Berry to me. You got an electric guitar, play Chuck Berry. What's wrong? And so they ended up over a period of weeks and months completely changing and basically doing acoustic sets, because them playing their city rock on a big stage, everyone's like, what the fuck are you doing?
No.
And so, but yeah, well-meaning white people learning a lesson is always
mind you, from that time came some of the most fucking amazing music ever. You got fucking Red Sails, Blue Sky Mine. You got the other one from that period too, which was just astounding. It was all that stuff, and it was from that time of going out in the bush and having to go, we don't know. And this is the thing, right? If you are a white Australian and you want to really move with Indigenous times, and I'm saying this as a future warning to you.
Yeah.
Go there and go, I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't actually know. And I've got to be shown because I don't actually know. And find out what it's like to start from the bottom and work your way up.
Yeah. I go by the
Not
in
easy.
this type of in this type of thing, I go by the principle of shut the fuck up. And again, look, as an educated white person, I think I know things, and I'm a well-meaning, bleeding heart lefty, and I'm going to say, hey, we could change these things and fix it, and that would be good. And someone goes, you never asked us what we
right.
want.
That's
And I'm
right.
like,
You never asked.
oh,
You never asked.
there was a real
I didn't
funny,
ask you to do that, and you
yeah,
don't have the responsibility to do that. And if you don't
Yeah.
have the responsibility, you don't have the power. And because
Yeah.
you've taken the power without the responsibility, I'm going to cut your balls off.
Yeah.
It's
a really funny episode of, do you remember Frontline, that faux current affairs show? It was a comedy series on the ABC, and there was one where the host, who's trying to be the well-meaning white person, he went out to some remote Indigenous communities saying, we've got to help them, and he's talking to someone local, and he's just going like, and he sees like there's a kid and he's eating a bag of sugar, and Mike goes, well, that's obviously bad. Those parents need to be sorted out. And the local goes, yep, do you know how much an apple costs here? And he's like, 50 cents? No, $5. Okay. Fresh food to feed a family, like if you just some veggies and stuff to make a single meal here that you would pay $5 for in the city, is between $20 and $50 here, because the stores, the only place they can buy from is a monopoly that's run by white people, and it is just expensive to fly fresh food into here. But also it ends up with a monopoly who fucks everyone over. So if you just look around you, you will see things that look bad and go, that's a bad thing, and I'm going to fix it. But you have this tendency to go, that is a person doing a bad thing, and I'm going to fix the person. And if you don't ask, why is this happening? What do you want to change to improve this? If you impose from on high, it's just going to fuck up.
And the thing that we all really have to get in our heads, right? And I was saying this before, people make culture, land makes people.
Yeah.
Right. The Australian countryside has not been any easier on Europeans since they got here. It's just that Europeans have changed their ways to be in more tune with the rhythms of the place. Yes, we've blown up mountains and moved rivers. Absolutely true. Absolutely
yes, we have.
True. We've absolutely irrigated places. Absolutely true. We've moved water around. Absolutely true. However, if you think it through, what we're doing is appreciating that water is everything. We haven't turned around and said, we're going to simply throw fucking foreign food in the ground and expect it to grow. No, we've basically turned around and gone, we need to really, really work out how to get this done.
Yeah.
And we know that the land is not going to help us put foreign food and make it go. We've got to.
It's not. No.
Really fucking going to have to change our ways to make it go. And this is happening more and more and more and more. And as we get closer to renewable fuels, as we get closer to why are we driving everywhere? Why can't we fly with electric planes? Why can't we use better technology? Why can't we use anything that's not a Liberal government? We get closer and closer and closer to the ethic of the Australian Indigenous people without knowing it.
Yeah.
See, I've talked to some very patient elders who I suspect are a lot older than they say they are.
Yeah.
And one of them said straight out to me, he says, a couple of 100 years is a blink of an eye. Soon it'll go back to the way it's always been, because it has to.
Yeah.
And he said that with a kind of casualness that was frightening, because it was a basic, concrete truth. It's like, is the whole continent going to change for you?
Yeah.
How are you going to do that then? Because it took them nearly 40,000 years to terraform from the Blue Mountains out past to near Wagga.
Yeah.
Because if you think about it, that's a rain shadow.
That's a lot of area. Yeah.
That's a rain
shadow.
Sorry,
I need, because I'm going to go to bed soon, I need to
Oh.
address something that's in the chat. As Musical Aviator pointed out, right-wing criticism of Bruce Pascoe often degenerates to, well, he's not even Aboriginal. He is very pale-skinned. And Visible Chicken did say there are some Indigenous people saying that. I want to highlight, be careful of what voices you see amplified in the media. Yes, there is politics, and look, there are valid questions around the whole thing, but the voices you see massively amplified in the media are people who are in the Liberal parties. And there are conservative Indigenous people who serve as MPs for the Liberal Party, and they will push the most conservative lines imaginable. Bruce Pascoe has been recognised by his mob from the area he says. He's like, this was my family, this was my parents and grandparents. And there you get scary racist fucks like Andrew Bolt wanting to impose really arbitrary rules about what defines someone as Indigenous. The Indigenous people broadly have three rules. It's basically, you say, this is my family, this is where they're from. And then the
family,
people
country.
who are still in that area say, yes, we recognize
family, country recognition.
Like, you literally get fuckheads like Andrew Bolt saying, oh, if they're not 50% Aboriginal. And Invisible Chicken, I'm highlighting, yes, there are Indigenous people who disagree with Bruce Pascoe, who are politically motivated to disagree with Bruce Pascoe. Again, disagreement's good. That's how you have discussion. I'm just saying what you will see reported of Indigenous people, basically someone saying something controversial like Bruce Pascoe's not even Indigenous. Murdoch Media and the LNP are going to pick that up and amplify it massively. I've seen it too. There's absolutely Indigenous people who question, is Bruce Pascoe even Indigenous? But there are people who've recognized his family history and said, yes, he would be part of our nation. But again, disagreement happens.
And remember, your Indigenous people were a dissenting people.
Yes. And the thing that AZ was bringing up differently about different nations, like if he's like, well, okay, I never liked people from that area anyway, and if he's saying that's where he's from, fuck him. So, well, okay, Invisible Chicken, you're saying you're quoting people who respect his work but aren't sure he's mob. Again, he has been claimed. I was saying there are people who definitely argue against his research, the people who are in the Liberal Party. And again, look, disagreement, dissent and stuff is all valid. It should all be measured on its merits. And also trying to argue in absolutes in something like that, like with people who are facing 200 years of a concerted effort to destroy any sense of nationhood and people, it makes it really, really, really difficult to establish things beyond doubt, because there's been a concerted effort for 200 years to make it impossible for someone to claim connection to land. So all I'm saying is it's very complicated. It's very, very complicated. And
it has to be complicated because the original inhabitants deliberately made it complicated so that no one could be too powerful.
Yeah.
No one person could be king. That could never happen. You had to sometimes even 3 different groups of power running the nation or the tribe or the clan. And that was deliberate so that you couldn't run away with the prize. You couldn't run away with the wealth. You had to keep it in common. And you could own it and run it. Along with everyone else.
Yeah. And it's bedtime. I'm going to be, as the last thing, Musical Aviator responded, doesn't understand why you have to be Indigenous to write research about the Indigenous. You don't. In fact, the overwhelming like 90+%, if not 99% of academic work that's been published about Indigenous Australians has been done by non-Indigenous people. Bruce Pascoe claims Indigenous heritage, and there are people who argue the point, but he also has people who said, no, that all makes sense what he's saying. But again, there is absolutely, not only is there's nothing stopping, like I said, way over 90% of academic work on Indigenous culture has been done by non-Indigenous people. But it's just thing, Bruce Pascoe has claimed to be part, and I'm not saying I should know. If I looked it up, I'd find out what nations he says his family's from. But but anyway, it's bedtime. I'm going to bed.
No,
it's a work day
you're
tomorrow.
all nice. Thank you very much for letting me on your device and not giving me COVID.
So see you anon,
because he's nice, and tell 6 of your mates.
Look, anyone here is going to be subscribed, but as I always throw out, if you're interested in cocktails,
tell 6 of your mates.
Tell them about the Angry Cocktails channel. Maybe they want drink recipes. It's old-fashioned week. I'm doing variations on old-fashioned.
Next time we're together, I want to talk about incels and what you don't like about them most.
All right. That's a fun topic. That is a fun topic. So see you all another time. Bye for now. Bye.